gold buyer.
Come in and see me today to get the most cash for your gold, jewelry, diamonds, watches, and silver.
Located at 900 Steep Rock Drive off Allen Road, 4 lights north of Shepherd, near the Downsview subway station.
Orin is better.
It's 8 o'clock, and we have just learned of breaking news. A pedestrian has been hit by a train in Oakville. Let's send things over to Mika with what we know so far. Mika.
I know that this happened on Burl Oak, just south of Harvester Gurdeep. We are hearing that it is the Lakeshore West line right now. Then trains are all stopped on that line. Give yourself extra time. So trains are all stopped. Haven't heard of anything else just yet, but the Lakeshore West line, it's on Burl Oak, just south of Harvester. A pedestrian was hit by a train, and GO trains are stopped right now on the Lakeshore West line. We'll get full details as soon as we get more, but right now trains are stopped on the Lakeshore West line coming into the city because of that problem. There's another collision. A cyclist has been struck, and now the intersection is closed at Finch and Pharmacy. So TTC and the rest of traffic have to divert around that area as well. Now we're going to head on over to Bob Summers.
Let's go to Oakville, which is wet, and we have a problem to talk about. It's being cleaned up. Westbound on the QEW through Trafalgar. This just happened. Collision northbound on the 427 express lanes north of the QEW on the Gardner Expressway. Still a problem being cleaned up. Southbound 427 south of the 401, actually. Tow truck just moving it out of the way right now. Just plain slow. Eastbound Gardner starting near Islington. Partly because Lakeshore is closed for the Indy between British Columbia and Strawn. Let's check the wet and more with Bill.
Yeah, you were showing it right there in Oakville and likely into Mississauga as well. Still just on the western side of the GTA for the time being. Some of the heavier bands of showers working their way out over Lake Ontario, but it will be pretty hard to avoid in the next hour or so. Most of us across GTA will be seeing some kind of wet weather. Grab the umbrella. 18 feels like 22. It's going to be a much fresher feeling day. Even though there's excessive heat warnings for coastal New England and parts of New England itself, they're sitting on the warm side of the low. We're on the north side of it, getting that cool easterly breeze. What a difference. Boy, in Fahrenheit, they're cresting into the 100 from New York City southward. Maybe you're happy we're sitting on this side. Allows you to flush the humidity out from your apartments that was probably building up yesterday. So look at that band of rain working its way towards the Niagara region and into Oakville. And then we'll get into Mississauga, Etobicoke, and downtown as well. 21 today with some passing showers this afternoon. A couple isolated showers tomorrow, but a brighter Saturday. I'll have more details on your long-range forecast, but now I'll send it inside for some breaking news.
All right, as mentioned, a person has been hit by a train out in Oakville at Burl Oak, just south of Harvester. Want to get more on this situation? We're joined by Anne-Marie Akins of Metrolinx. Anne-Marie, good morning. Thanks for joining us. What more can you tell us? What are you hearing about this situation?
It's very early, so I haven't heard if it's a fatality or not, or what the circumstances are. So I know very limited information now. We're in the process of getting our service recovery plan in place, but it is going to be very difficult for customers. It's a very busy time of day, probably our busiest. So there are there's 2 trains stopped now, and there are many thousands of passengers that are going to be have difficulty getting to work this morning from there. So hang with us for another few minutes. We will make sure we have a service recovery plan in place very, very soon, and more information. It's been a very, very difficult week. We've had 3 fatalities, and this hopefully isn't our 4th, but I don't know at this point.
Yeah, we don't know that either. We're waiting to hear the condition of the person that was hit. Anne-Marie, thanks so much for joining us. I know details are preliminary. We'll let you get back to it. We may talk to you a little bit later. Anne-Marie Akins of Metrolinx, thanks for joining us. I want to bring in our Mika Modolo right now. Mika, you've been listening in for more. What do you got?
So the Burlington Division, Police Division are on scene right now. They said they got the call at 7:41 in the morning. A train contacted a pedestrian right now. No word on the condition of the pedestrian at this moment, Gurdeep, but at 7:41 in the morning, the Burlington Police Division have been reported that there was a pedestrian that was hit by a GO train. This is all on the Lakeshore West line. I know all trains are stopped right now. I can tell you that any train coming on the Lakeshore West line into the city is not moving whatsoever. We will have further updates soon, but right now there is a train that has struck a pedestrian, and the call came in at 7:41 in the morning. It's on the Lakeshore West line, and it is a GO train.
Okay, so this happened about 20 minutes ago. Very fresh. As we learn more, we'll bring it to you right here on CP. CP24 Breakfast. In the meantime, want to get you caught up on what else is happening this morning. The federal government's multi-million-dollar settlement with Omar Khadr is going to be challenged in court this morning. For more on the legal battle that lies ahead, let's go live to our George Lagajanis. George.
Gurdeep, thanks very much. It'll be heard here behind me at Osgood Hall in just under 2 hours. I'm joined now by Ari Goldkind, defense lawyer. So, Ari, what's the sum and substance of what's going to happen in there today?
So this is going to be a really interesting matter because there's no black letter law here. So for people who are wondering, is there some precedent here? Is there some case that a judge can rely on? No, there's two really interesting ways to look at it. Do we respect judgments out of our closest ally to the south? A judgment out of the U.S., a properly constituted court that gave a verdict. $134 million is a lot. We know U.S. juries have deep pockets of the accused. Or the other side, which is he was in Guantanamo Bay. He was arguably tortured. He arguably confessed under torture, and our Supreme Court doesn't tend to like that, hence the $10.5 million payout. But there's a lot of cases right now that finished in this courthouse and are going to the Supreme Court about whether our country, on public policy principles, respects verdicts from the South about terrorism, or are we a country that will allow this kind of freezing of assets or this kind of judgment against somebody that we feel their rights are violated. That's the gist of it today.
Is this the kind of thing that would, should, and could be decided in one day?
It could be decided in one day. I expect this to actually be what's called reserved, for the judge to think about it, figure out what he or she is going to do, and here's why. There are so many competing, forget legal, I know we're in front of a courthouse. Anybody watching this who doesn't think that politics and the atmosphere of what's gone on here won't factor into the decision, I think is misplaced. This judge will likely know that whatever he or she does is not going to end up just in this courthouse, but is going to end up in the big courthouse in Ottawa called the Supreme Court. So I expect a little bit of extra care because it's not easy to freeze somebody's assets, and it's not easy to make this decision quickly. I could be surprised, but I expect some thought to go into this.
All right, thank you so much.
Pleasure.
Gurdeep, that's it for now. Back to you.
Okay, George, thanks for that. Let's move on to some other news. One man is seriously injured and also under arrest after a crash in High Park. There's a look at some of the damage. Police were called to this scene on Colborne Lodge just before 4 o'clock this morning. They say a car was in reverse when it crashed into a tree. The 27-year-old driver was taken to hospital and also charged with impaired driving. Now, when police searched his car, they also found drugs and a firearm. Police are investigating a hoax that tied up significant amounts of resources last night. Officers, including ETF, were called to a home on Elm Avenue in the Rosedale neighborhood just after midnight. The call was for a shooting, but when they arrived at the scene, no one was home. They are trying to figure out who placed that call. And police also put out this tweet last night saying, "Man called to report another man in a restaurant did not flush the toilet. Although impolite, these calls tie up our lines." A little later, police also tweeted, "In all seriousness, tying up our phone lines creates a public safety issue for those in real need of our help." A man is in custody in connection with a stabbing late last night at the Keele Community Correctional Center. Police were called to this center on Keele, south of Dundas, at 11:30. A 44-year-old man is facing weapon-related charges. Police can't say if both involved are prisoners. The victim is expected to survive while the suspect tried to escape the scene before being apprehended. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is making what his office is calling an important announcement, and he's expected to reveal the next Governor General today. There are reports that astronaut Julie Payette is among the top contenders for the post. The 53-year-old Montrealer, who speaks 6 languages, was picked from more than 5,300 applicants in 1992 to be one of 4 new astronauts with the Canadian Space Agency. Payette also took part in 2 space flights to the International Space Station and was the country's chief astronaut between 2000 and 2007. Governor General David Johnston's term is set to expire in September. Payette would be the 29th person to hold the position. Crews in British Columbia were helped out by calmer weather yesterday as they continue to battle wildfires burning across the province. Want to get the latest now on that situation? We're joined by CTV's Sheila Scott in Kamloops. Sheila, good morning to you. So I understand there's been some progress. I know the weather helped out a little bit yesterday, and the number of actual active fires has been reduced since we last talked. What's the latest on the situation there?
Well, this may still sound like a big number, Gurdeep, but it's much better than it was yesterday. We've gone from about 219 active wildfires to 187 active wildfires. And some of those wildfires that crews are specifically concerned about, interface fires that are threatening homes and threatening communities, some of those they are finally starting to get a handle on. And the people that have been evacuated from many of these areas since Friday are feeling a sense of sort of cautious optimism. Now, in the Williams Lake area, that's an area that's been under evacuation alert since Monday, so people are still allowed to be home there. We heard from the mayor yesterday that 40 to 60% of people living in that area have actually left on their own. That's because it's been so smoky in the Williams Lake area. It's basically been socked in. It's been hard for people to breathe. Older people with respiratory issues, big issues for them. But what they're starting to see now is that shelves are bare. There are not enough staff to work at places like Walmart so people can buy the essentials. So essentially the town is cleared out even though people are still allowed to be there. As for the other fires with mandatory evacuations, fires like Ashcroft, near 100 Mile House, some of those we're seeing, 15% containment, 40% containment. So definitely promising news for people that have been out of their homes. A lot of people are going to be in line here behind me a little bit later this morning as they're going to have to re-enroll in the evacuation program here with the Red Cross. So it's going to be another busy day for them as they still wait for word on when they're going to be able to go home. We'll have to see what happens to the weather today to see how much headway fire crews can make again.
CTV's Sheila Scott in Kamloops. Thanks for all that information. We'll talk to you again. All right, well, a fisherman in South Carolina has reunited a woman with a purse that she lost 25 years ago. April Bolt says that she left the purse in her husband's boat at a dock along South Carolina's Lake Hartwell in 1992 while the pair had dinner with her parents. During the meal, someone took her purse. 25 years later, Ben Meyer, a family friend of Bolt, was fishing with a young family member in the same area when the pair reeled in her purse. He recognized her name and found her ID and returned it to her. She says everything in the purse was intact, if you can believe it, including some one-of-a-kind baby photos of her son. That is unreal.
How is that possible?
So did someone steal the purse, take the money, and then throw it in the lake, or did it just kind of fall into the lake?
And maybe nobody stole it at all. Maybe they thought somebody stole it because everything was still there.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Well, it says everything was still there, but I wonder about the money.
Maybe not the money, but...
Maybe not the money.
I see, if I was this person, this woman, I would be a little concerned if somebody found my purse years later. It would be nice to get it back, but the stuff that's in my purse, I'm one of those people who really needs to, clean out my purse. There's, random receipts and,
Receipts from the 80s?
Yeah, and they're just, I throw everything in there. There's, be a random sandal, and you're like, what? Why is this?
How big is your purse?
I always have a really big purse because I got to throw everything in there.
Everything in? It's like a backpack, essentially.
Yeah, I know women watching right now can relate to this.
Oh,
it's one of those things where you need to actually do a purge, but then by that time I'm ready for a new purse. So,
I think the fellas can relate too, because guys carry the Merce now, right?
True.
The satchel or the Merce. I have one as well.
Don't you do that?
I do, and you know what? I shouldn't even rip on you because I probably need to clean out in there as well.
Yeah, and actually you said something interesting to me about purses, which was I was impressed.
Really?
You went to, I said, oh, it's in my purse, go grab it. And you were like, no, 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 no. My mama taught me, you never go in a woman's purse.
Never go in a woman's purse.
Is that true? She said that to you?
Well, yeah, and anytime my mom would ask for, can you get me my purse, whatever, I would, or, can you get me Advil or can you get me this? I would just bring the bag and be like, there you go. I'm not going in. I feel like it's sacred territory.
It is.
Right?
Don't go in a woman's purse.
There we go.
Just, you'll find
lessons, kids at home, lessons.
You'll find a random sandal. Yes.
Or something else.
Or something else. Jamie, this morning, he is getting ready for the ride for Karen. What are you up to?
Yeah, we've been hanging out with these participants who are going to be embarking on a huge ride, 100, 160K or 200K ride on Sunday, August 13th. And since its inception 16 years ago, they've raised over $2.4 million. And the money has gone to a variety of different organizations, mostly to support people who are living with cancer. And one of the most incredible organizations and camps out there that helps kids who are living with cancer to help give them just a great time and for kids to just be a kid is Camp Uchagayas. We've all heard the name before. Many of us have been up there. I have yet to be